Question: what connects the code behind Minecraft, the 1900 Galveston hurricane, vocal variety, and blood pressure cuffs? Although the answer is obviously not too obvious, for me, it's summer camps. Hi, I'm Colton Holiday, a senior from Houston, Texas, and summer camps have truly defined who I am and fueled a deep passion for learning within me. However, it was one camp that had a much larger impact than the rest of those camps combined. At 15 years old, I had my future set out. I was going to be a neurosurgeon. And when I went to the National Student Leadership Conference at the University of Texas at Austin, I expected to become even more sure of that plan. However, everything went haywire when I was expected to perform a pig's foot suture. I walked into the crowded room, grabbed my materials, looked down, and was ready to start. But when I went to start, something froze in me. I don't realize what it was at the time or why I couldn't do it through, but it was at that moment that I realized that surgery was my path. However, what could have been a dead end in that moment actually became a turning point because when I opened up my mind view and was able to take in the camp as a larger experience, I was able to look at medicine within a broader context. I was able to look at how it connects with community, systems, and equity. But when I realized that, it hit an even more personal note. It tied back to my nearly weekly visits to Hart's Chicken Buffet with my grandfather. Through things like fried chicken, fluffy rolls, red beans and rice, and a fan of red, that became my go to meal at Hart's Chicken, but became a microcosm of health equity issues in the US. Here's the thing: my grandfather is from a small town called Huffman, Texas, just outside of Houston, where the closest grocery store is 30 to 40 minutes away, but fast food is just around the street. When my grandfather had a hospital visit due to a hypertension scare, it was at that moment that I saw firsthand how food is tied to health and how health is tied to equity. That meal was not just a tradition, it was a microcosm of a larger issue that affected my community and so many nationwide. I realized that health issues aren't just specific to certain communities, but affect our country as a whole. That's why I'm pursuing medicine, to advocate for communities just like mine that aren't able to reach the equity in healthcare. And that's why I deserve this scholarship. I have a unique experience that is tied to failure, but also seeing firsthand how communities have been impacted by health equity problems. So, yes, my meals, sutures have all brought me to this point. And through the Stonewater Roofing Scholarship, I'm excited to take my experiences and push them further to finally advocate for health equity on the national scale.